team, the Writers' Room Live. And joining me this evening, I have a great panel of guests, and we're going to be doing a sci-fi story. There is no subgenre, we're just going to go full on sci-fi today. We'll be using the steampunk wordsmith's evolution method to tell this story, and we'll be plotting it out as we go. The prompt was received several hours ago by the members of the panel, and really, that's all the forewarning they've had. They knew the genre, but they didn't know the prompt. When I bring them on in a moment, we will be going through the evolution method as a round robin. We'll be using that round robin to create a new story, all set in the world of science fiction. I am going to ask my co-host this evening as well to present the prompt to you, so you'll know that we are really doing this by the seat of our pants. The whole idea of the writer's room is to give you, the viewer, an idea of what the story development process is like, building a world on the go. And we will create an outline. Many people say to me there is no such thing as a good outline method because some of us are pantsers and some of us are plotters. I say there's no such thing as a pantser or a plotter because if you are a pantser, your first draft usually becomes your outline. It's just the same method of doing the same thing. Sorry, different methods of doing the same thing. So without further ado, please let me bring on my guests for this evening, three very good and new friends of mine, and give us a wave, guys, you're on screen. And I'm going to start by asking each of the people to introduce myself. I'm going to go in a clockwise method. So we're going to start with Juniper. Juniper, can you tell us a bit about yourself and where to find your books and what style you write in?
Hi, my name is Juniper Sage Wester. I write van life novels currently. That's the series I'm working on. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on my site at junipersagehandmade.com. You can find it on Google, Apple, and Barnes & Noble.
Okay, great. And where are you located again?
I'm in Utah.
You're in Utah. Okay. And all of the guests that we're introducing tonight will be back next week because we'll be doing level 1 through 3 tonight and level 4, 5, and 6 next week. And I'll talk about that a bit more in a moment. Please welcome JJ. And JJ, please tell us a bit about yourself, what genre you write in, where we can find your books, your hopes for the future, and your plan for world peace, please.
Well, I don't have a pen name, so I'm using my regular name, Joseph Hand, and I'm writing a mystery novel called Silent Pestilence, and since it's still in the works, it's not available yet, and I'm from Texas.
Okay, and congratulations on writing your first book. We were all there once, it's a big step, and we'll be supporting you the whole way.
Thank you.
My co-host for this evening is Silas. And Silas, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
My name is Silas Seabrook, and like the other guests on the show, I write under my legal name. You can find my works at Silas Art, that's SYLAS.art. I write science fiction. I've completed a series, the Pure Impurity series, and you can go to my website to find out more about it and my upcoming series, Cyberpunk Young Adult series, by visiting my website.
Thank you. And what is that website again?
Silas.art, SYLAS.art.
Okay, thank you. And as I mentioned earlier, I am Montgomery Harris, the Steampunk Wordsmith. My new series will be launching in December 13th. It's an entire universe called the Age of the Navigator universe. And book 1, An Incident of Impetus, will be on the shelves on my birthday, December 13th. So I'm not saying that to guilt you all into buying it because it's my birthday. It's just an easy way for me to remember what date I've got to get everything done by. We are going to start this podcast by going through Acts 1 through 3 this week. Next week, the 14th of September, we'll be going through Acts 4, 5, and 6, where these three beautiful faces will be joining me again. And I'm glad that you've signed on to commit for 2 weeks. Previously, we used to do it all in one night. We found it was a bit much for everyone to handle, and the purpose of this is for education. for new writers. So to help you be more attentive, and help you keep your concentration and us to stop being so mentally exhausted at the end of it, we broke it into 2 episodes. So I am going to hand the reins over to Silas right now, and he's going to read us the prompt that I passed on this evening to my author friends here.
The independent Martian colonies are involved in a race with the United Interplanetary Settlements Corporation, a massive company which owns almost 70% of Earth industry. The race for Alpha Centauri is on. At only 4.5 years travel time, the potential for the first colony outside of our own solar system has begun.
Awesome. I hope that gets your creative juices flowing, everyone. I am actually going to start with Silas this evening because he is the co-host. And we'll work our way through... Sorry?
Can you tell I was eager? I started talking before you even had a chance to stop.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up levels 1 through 3 on the screen now for my viewers, and just explain that level 1 through 3 is level 1. That is an introductory scene. Level 2 is introduce the villain, introduce the supporting cast, and an unimportant task. Level 3 is something learned, something motivating, a small disaster, a great catastrophe, and the game is afoot. These are levels 1 through 3. Now, the way that the evolution method works is you have to move through the levels 1 through 9 in order, but the parts within that level are not necessarily required to be in any order at all. So I'm just going to switch back over here to my guests, and I'm going to pass over to Silas, and from Silas we will go with JJ, and then Juniper, and then myself. So guys, are you ready? Okay, awesome. You're done. Silas, take it away, please, buddy. So just to clarify, this is the end of the first ship, and now people are built the story. This is the story of the building of the second ship and the problems that people are going to face as the story progresses. So we have to put problems in there as we make the promises of that first level. When you're writing, you always need to make promises in that first level. So with Silas as well, because this is your choice, but also the rest of the group, have we got any obstacles we want to throw in there, challenges that people will face, and what promises are we going to make in this first level? Anyone? Okay. I or do we have anything that was happening on the ship at the time of the explosion? They're revealing the ship, Silas said, so there's got to be some kind of a reveal party on Mars, yeah. So it's some big reveal, like, like I'm picturing like the launching of a ship, when they smash the bottle of champagne off the bow, that kind of thing. God bless her and horses our honor, kind of thing. Yep. dignitaries and people as such. So you want to take out the hierarchy right at the beginning. Okay. So, so there's a sickness on the ship. Is that part of the cover up? Like they're making people look like they're sick and then the ship explodes, so it looks like there was something wrong with the ship more than like, and it was sabotaged? Is that where you're going with that, Juniper? Yeah, but sick from what? I like the radiation and carbon monoxide and stuff. Um, and yeah, and welcome to the chat, Jessica. Jessica Urban. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to tie the two together. That's my thing. Like one, like make them sick. People start reporting that they're getting sick, and then the ship goes boom. It's like a cover up before the incident happens. It's like a precursory cover up, you know? If everyone's like, hold on, I can smell something, you know what I mean? Well, you can't smell carbon monoxide, but you know, people are collapsing all over the place. Well, we'll get a rescue ship up there, boom. And I like the idea that dignitaries are on there because I'd like to see that, like, say, the second in command is now going to be in command of the new ship, and maybe all of the people who were left alive. We'd have to think of a reason why the second in command couldn't be on the ship at the time, but maybe the second in command wasn't on the ship, and all of the people who wasn't on the ship weren't there because all of the dignitaries were, and these people aren't as important as them, but they're going to be the ones. That's the biggest obstacle. I couldn't. I was thinking this is a ship that's going to colonize Alpha Centauri. A colony takes a lot of people. Wouldn't these dignitaries be some of the people who were trying to show that this is safe to do? We want you guys to go and do this, and we're going to be on the ship to show you that? Or even better still, the people who were on the ship were the heads of the new colony, like the people who would be the head of the new colony, showing that it's safe, and now they get wiped out. Like a briefing kind of thing, like they do. Yeah, like you know, back in the days of NASA, like it was Apollo 12 or Apollo 10 that did the briefings for Apollo 11. You know, because they were the most recently trained. The second in command could be like that, doing a briefing just like that. I like it. And now he has greatness thrust upon him, right? Okay. I don't want to go too far into level 2 because that might be considered a meaningless task. So I don't want to go like, but it could set the scene that he's like, I'm stuck talking to all of these people when I could be up there drinking champagne, kind of attitude. You know, I'm the second in command. I get to sleep with people while the captain does all the real work. You know, I get to use my dashing good looks and my charm. Yeah, you know. Oh, okay. Yes, I do. Let me get this back on you guys. My apologies. It's not the worst technical difficulty we've had this evening. Right, stop streaming. Okay. And main screen. My apologies for that, viewers. It should be showing it now.
There's a 30-second delay on the stream, so we'll see. So we've got two sets of dignitaries. The one that's on the ship that gets blown up. The second in command is, and there I see us now on the stream.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Second in command is presenting to the other dignitaries, doing a briefing. But the captain is on the ship. So that's where we're at now. Do I have that right?
Yeah. The captain and the heads of sheds are all. Sorry, that's an English term. The people in charge. They're like major politicians and scientists who would be on the new colony. Scientists who helped build this new ship, who would have built the second one. They were on there as well. The best and the brightest, basically, were all on board this ship. And for want of a better term, the second in command was briefing the second best and brightest. He wasn't with the first responders, he was with the second responders, if we will, you know.
Yep.
He was with the second wave. I have a couple of people in chat here. It's just comments of well wishes for the podcast, so we'll leave it at that, and they're all wishing you well. So that's where we are, and that takes us to level 2. Level 2 is an unnecessary task, introduce the villain, or introduce the supporting cast. I am going to go to JJ next and let him pick one of these. Whichever one he chooses, I'll explain in a bit more detail and what purpose it should serve in the story. Over to you, JJ.
How about meet the villain?
Okay. I see you go straight for the bad guy. You must be a mystery writer. Okay, the purpose of Meet the Villain is to... It doesn't have to actually physically introduce the villain. It can be alluded to. It can be used as a world-building device to say who the enemy is. It might not even be an actual enemy. It might be... I don't know, it might be an obstacle or a political opponent. They don't have to be an evil bad guy. A villain is just the antagonist. They put obstacles in front of the protagonist. Malfoy in Harry Potter, for instance, he never really truly puts an obstacle in front of Harry Potter, does he? Voldemort puts the obstacles in front of him. Malfoy's just a dick.
I mean, unless you count his personality as an obstacle.
No, it's not, because if you think about it, Harry Potter just pushes it away, doesn't he? He's like, shut your face, Malfoy! Like that.
Yeah, they just rub each other wrong.
Yeah, they just rub each other the wrong way. Technically, as one improves, the other one gets more motivated. It's actually a support character in a way
Hmm.
because the two strengths increase. A support character doesn't always have to be a friend. The same way as Meet the Villain doesn't always have to introduce the villain. It can just be alluded to. Or we can see the shadow behind the screen, you know? The silhouette on the
Yeah.
screen, that kind of thing. So, go on, take it away, JJ.
How about we have like a undercover guy sneak onto the ship, like a maintenance man, and he sabotages the ship, and that's why everyone was getting sick, and the ship eventually blows. And he's being puppeted by like a high-ranking official from Earth.
Okay, a member of this international. I forgot the name I gave it now. The International Corporation for Settlement, right? Planetary Settlement. ICPS.
United Interplanetary Settlement Corporation.
Yeah. USIC. That wasn't an accident. um. So, my question is, when do we show this guy going onto the ship, and how does he get off without arousing a lot of suspicion?
I think
That's
he comes
I don't think-
on with. Oh, go
I
on.
mean, he's a maintenance man. I think he should just be a regular crew member that no one knows is undercover.
yeah, okay. I'll just, my thing is sort of like, as a reader, like, well, how did he get off? That's the question I want answering. But then again,
I think that's where we should start with this guy is him getting off of the thing, not getting onto and doing his dirty work, because
Okay.
that's already been done in the spaceship exploding. But he leaves from there, and then we could have him approach the high-ranking official, who could and either like demand payment, ask for another mission, or something.
I like it.
Okay. Just to throw a quick thing here, we have the villain. Do we have Martian? Like, we know that the Earth Corporation is the bad guy, but do we have anybody, JJ, because this is your area? Do you think this person is a part of the Earth Corporation, or is he a Martian who are against colonization, who got puppeted by the Earth people?
Well, we could also introduce a radical group of Martians that are helping Earth to get what they want. And when I say they, I mean get what Martians want, but Earth's getting what they want too.
Okay, so they're against colonization, but for independent Mars kind of thing.
I like that because it gives you two different sides of an argument, like two
Yep.
full sides of an argument.
And
It's
who
also-
my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It also creates that. It just makes it more realistic for why that guy would be on the planet.
Yeah.
Because he'd have a Martian accent, and you know what I mean? Things would be different. So we're going to go over to Juniper now. You've got a setting. You know who the bad guy is. Where do you want to go next?
I was honestly gonna do the unimportant task with the previous people he mentioned with the army of Martians over here.
Ooh.
If you pay attention to Lord of the Rings, if you pay attention to the Mud People or whatever they're called, they do a lot of things that seem rather menial constantly. They're hammering out metal. I figured I'm gonna have the other army people or the other Martians legit just talking to each other and one person trying to delegate something for a task that's completely menial compared to what they're trying to do because it diverts attention to what are they doing and it's just a sleight of hand trick.
I hear you. Can I just elaborate a little more on what the meaningless task is supposed to do?
Divert your attention to make you think this other person is in charge.
Well, Now, the meaningless task in the evolution plan is to allow us to get to know the protagonist a little better, the main character a little better. So, if you want to show this work going on in the background, and he's part of it, but what it is, it's to show basically that the protagonist longs for something more than what he's doing. That's what the meaningless task is. So, yes, I love the idea of showing the Martians at work and everything. Can we put the protagonist in that in some way?
Okay,
Yeah.
like iRobot it, make the Martian be working for him.
Which Martian are we talking about here? The second in command? Who's the
I would
protagonist?
make the second in command the one that interacts with him, because it's the one that's not in charge, but you think he's in charge.
Who's the protagonist?
The protagonist is the second in command, right? That's our hero of the story. That's the guy who's now going to lead this mission.
You need to name him.
We do.
You
I-
need the name.
Well, go on. You're doing the meaningless task. You get to name him. Bob.
Bob, no, it can't be Bob.
Bob Roberts of Robertson Incorporated.
I mean, we could go way plain and John Smith.
Hmm.
John Wyatt.
Parthus.
Ooh.
Say again?
Parthus.
Parthus.
How do you spell that?
Tarthus. Tarthus.
Tarthus.
Oh,
I like that. Is that a name from mythology?
Nope, completely made up.
Okay.
There you go.
It sounds like it though, doesn't it? It's like Tiberius is James T. Kirk's middle name.
So,
You know.
is that just a single name, or is there going to be more to it?
I think just leave it as a single name. Like Voldemort, it's one name.
But that's an anagram of Tom Riddle.
I don't know that that's going to work for a sci-fi novel because he's going to be captain of the ship, so it's going to be captain last name.
Yeah, Captain Tibus. Typhus. That sounds very close to typhus, doesn't it? Typhus.
That's scary.
How about we make the second in command a woman?
Ooh.
I like
What
the
do you think,
inclusion.
Jennifer?
I like the inclusion.
Mary Typhus.
Ooh.
Okay.
That just came into my head because of Typhoid Mary, and I thought of typhus.
Yeah.
But-
That's yeah. I caught on to that. Yeah.
So while
I
everyone's
like that.
while everyone's at work and tinkering and everything, we have to show this meaningless task that I've got an idea if you want to hear it, Juniper, that might deepen the character more and show all these people doing
Yeah, I
it
have
in
a
the
hard
war.
time doing tasks on like ships. Like I don't.
Yeah, I was
Going through the
thinking,
logs.
what if they're collecting the bodies
Ooh.
from
But
the crash
is
ship?
that really meaningless?
It's a menial task when you're sifting
Oh,
through the
menial.
rubble. Menial.
Feel.
Sorry.
Menial. Unimportant to the story, but it's good for the character development. It's like you could show me in a book taking a shower. That's meaningless and everything. But if while I'm taking that shower, I'm going over the idea of a case and the problems with the case, then it becomes a menial task, but it allows me to deepen the character. Basically, what it
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
what it does is it puts me in a situation where you can allow for a lot of internal monologue, and you can show a lot of the character. You know what I mean?
I like the collecting of bodies.
It's not a bad idea, but technically, we also already had her doing something. She was giving her own speech to the.
Yeah, that was scene setting.
Oh, okay.
Because if we use that speech for exposition, like giving that speech for exposition, explaining the political stuff, we can give some exposition in the first task. But now this meaningless task, she's talking about all this hope and everything that's going on.
Instead of collecting the bodies, which are going to be blown up into little pieces and spread all around,
Well, that took a
what
turn.
if we had her identifying bodies?
Okay, I
Yeah, the
like
ones that survive.
identifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, like through DNA and everything like that?
Well, the few
Well,
that
not
were
through
actually
remnants.
recognizable.
Yeah. Or even as second in command, she's the one delivering the messages, identifying and
Oh,
telling the next of kin and writing the letters. That's all
and
part of
because
the
she's a female, that shows you
Okay,
can put her with more emotion. You know what I mean?
I like the writing letters notifying next of kin, and let me tell you why. This is going to sound kind of gory, but it's just writing needs to reflect reality
Yes.
to a certain degree. There was a guy who the Soviet Union sent up into space who had no chance of ever returning alive. And he demanded that he be buried in an open casket to make them all look and see what they had done to him. He is unrecognizably mangled. So writing letters notifying next of kin is going to be more realistic than collecting bodies or identifying remains, and suits the position for them because she has gone from being second in command to being first in command.
Yeah.
So that duty would fall on her. And it gives us the ability to develop character, which is what the plot point is about, through the internal monologue and the writing of the letters. I mean, actually including the text of the letters would be effective.
Absolutely. And it could allow for this absolutely fantastic scene where it's like, when a character has to go on a journey through the story, if she was this happy-go-lucky, flirty woman when she was doing her speech at the beginning, and now she's being crippled with this menial task, and she can't remember the names of half of the junior ranks because she was more about being second in command, Flash, you know what I mean? She was using her rank as a sort of like flirtation device, just for a good time, And she's got no ties to Mars, that's why she was second in command. But now, after burying all this, she's got ties to Mars now, and she's got ties to these families. She knows what it's like to see a family. We've got a growth arc now for the second in command.
What do you think, Juniper?
I honestly like that. I like the writing the letters to the family. I like that it brings a little bit more emotion into it. I like that the second in command, is a female. Because I do agree with you. You can really dive into the emotions there. Also take into consideration that when females are in charge, sometimes because that I guess that sexual aspect where you like flirt with your managers or you bring it into the work, we also want to figure out what kind of female she's going to be, because there's a lot of females that won't do that. There's a lot of females that will be like, nope, I'm manlier than you and you're going to do what I say. Like we'll say the Trunchbull in Matilda.
Yeah.
Where they try to prove themselves.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
I
think
like
she should
strong
be.
female characters.
Yeah, I think that.
Silas?
Could you say that again, Silas, please?
Oh, I said I like writing strong female characters.
Well, she could still be strong, just not as, straight to the point as someone who's trying to say they're, better than a man. You know what I mean?
It's been my experience in the military. A person who is in second in command is there to learn how to command, not actually command.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's say this was her first promotion to second in command, and now she's commander. She's had no preparation or no training. Perhaps she has gone from, like, you can be a good time girl without being a bimbo.
Yeah.
You can be a woman who enjoys bumping and grinding it with several partners in rapid succession without being a slut, right? Let's say this is Mars now. We'll break down those gender barriers a little bit. A woman can sleep around and not be a slut. A woman can be in charge and not be a bitch. Let's break down those barriers of the 21st century and the 20th century in particular and look at what it would be like in the 24th century. Perhaps people have got bigger fish to fry than picking on someone using a gender as a means of attack instead of weaponizing a gender either. They can actually sort of like say, okay, this person's faults is they're immature. And they don't have to have a gender thing attached to that. You can be immature and be a guy, and immature and be a woman. Right?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm getting at?
Basically, let them be who they're going to be without judgment.
When
Let-
I choose
let them be internal.
personality for my characters, I oftentimes think in terms of the plot itself and what is going to give this character an arc. Their personality is going to go with their arc. So, what are we expecting for our protagonist to learn through the story? How are they going to grow and become better than they were?
Let's leave that for Act 2. Let's just decide where she's at now with this menial task. And I would say she's
Well, writing the letters, notifying the next of kin.
I think at this point in the story, she's learning an important lesson about command and maturity. And she's realizing her faults.
Overwhelmed too.
Yeah, let the conflict be internal. Because as someone who has a review saying Monty does women well, I will tell you this. A woman is going to kick herself in the ass a lot more internally than she can ever be kicked in the ass externally. Am I right, Juniper?
Yeah, pretty much on the nose.
So let's show her kicking herself in the ass.
I like that because nobody beats me down better than me, as weird as that is.
Well, it makes sense.
And that can go to the support characters. We can show that through the support characters. And then the support
And I
characters.
would also make her overcorrect some of her behaviors, like because she's new in command, because she's learning. I would put some overcorrections in there for her to try to kind of overcompensate for her newness.
I see that.
That causes her to stumble and mess up, like she gets a code wrong or something, or she pushes the wrong button, or she goes down the wrong hallway and ends up somewhere else because she's trying to be kind of on her high horse, but isn't.
I think
Yeah.
she needs to have a female support character. Someone that she confides in.
Does it need to be a
Obviously,
female?
well, it could be a male too, but I think maybe a male and a female support character. Kind of like her
Well,
new cabinet almost.
well, that's
Still
mine.
using my section.
That's mine. I get
Oh, the support characters was your section?
yeah, because that's the last one of level 2.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to take that over now. But before that, can we just get an agreement that her biggest enemy right now to herself is her own immaturity? And I don't mean immaturity, so like, oh my gosh. I mean immaturity, inexperience. Like, she's immature as a commander, but she's not useless. She's a second in command for a reason, right?
Yeah.
I think the military would call that green.
You'd call it green, you'd call them a Rupert, you'd call them an intelligent idiot. You know? When I was in, he was like, for God's sake, they're the smart as heck, but don't give them a map, And learn to be corrected. So, what does it? So three support characters. It's always a good thing to have three support characters because I like to work on the premise that every great story has 6 characters. And if you're a new writer, 6 characters is a good one to work with because you have your protagonist, there are 3 supporters, an outside influence, the antagonist, and his henchman or his second. That is a good thing to start with. And all of the great stories have like 6 people in it. Then you don't repeat your characters. So I'm going to go with the 3 support characters here. And I think I'm going to smash gender out of the way here. I'm not going to say. I like the idea that in the future we've regressed enough to not be overpowered by the early modern era's view of genders. If you look back to the Viking era, a shield maiden was an equal warrior to a man, right? She had equal rights to property, and that was the same in a lot of cultures. I would like to think that Mars, being this culture of people who went and settled a new land, did it because they wanted, almost like they were anti-capitalist without being socialists, without getting stuck on the politics too much. But what I mean by that is this corporation owns 70% of the world's wealth that they're against. Why would you want to go to Mars? You'd want to set up a new society that was probably built on cooperation. Why did the Pilgrim Fathers come here first? Why did people settle new lands? And I'm not talking about colonization here, I'm just talking about settling new lands. Because you want to create your own society. That's how we branched off and formed societies.
Or lack of resources.
Yeah, but it's the management of resources as well, you know?
Yeah.
So, I would like to say a second in command is I'm going to say, doesn't acknowledge gender in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to say they're non-binary, because I don't want to sound like I'm, but just someone who's sort of like they're the them, they, but it's not considered this far in the future to be non-binary. That's just them. Like, don't call people verbs,
Maybe similar to a eunuch?
No, because the eunuchs had their genitalia removed. I'm talking about someone who's just. It's an hard concept to get around, but the idea that you can live your life without a label.
Okay, so basically they walk both paths.
They walk both
Okay,
paths.
well, I like the concept of this. How in the world are you going to say their pronouns when you choose to write them?
I'm not going to use pronouns. I'm going to use name.
Yeah, I would just use their first
Every
name.
single time.
Just use that.
Mary went to the store and Mary did this and then Mary did that.
I'm not
So
talking
Mary
about.
went to the store and she did this and she did that.
Hold on. There's some clever language you can use to get away. You can get away with it, get around it. Grabbing several items. Mary went to the store and grabbed several items. The checkout lane was busy. There was no way that the appointment was going to happen tonight. It's like you can use clever language. You just mean, but we're outlining right now. But yeah, I mean, there would be chances when you use pronouns, but what if that pronoun has become so common usage it's not even
About happy medium.
Yeah, it's like
Android.
it's not they them, it's not they them, it's not he she.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
Well, I don't. Androgynous. Let's just say androgynous. almost, but they have the genitalia. They're almost so like you know. The point of the matter is the one support character has lived with, has been raised in a community within Mars where gender was never considered and sexuality was never considered. Everything was just as you are, right? And people developed, and like pronouns just went away within this group. It was just you are. Um, and she is the second in command, or she. See, I just did it. But the second in command falls into this category of no gender reference and just refer to
The
by
new
name.
second in command is what you mean?
Yeah, the new second in command to like Mary's second in command. Almost impossible. Like to look at this person, you wouldn't know whether what the gender birth was. Sorry, the sex at birth was. You just wouldn't know. They just dress in such a way, not to make a statement. It's just it doesn't matter to them at all. It's just it doesn't matter, and no one cares that it doesn't matter.
I love the concept.
Yeah.
My only problem of for consideration here is we're making an outline for other people to pick up and to write. And to say that one of the characters needs to never be referred to by a pronoun whatsoever in he, she, or they format
Well, that's the
uh,
choice of the writer.
is a really challenging outline to
Yeah.
follow.
It's use them they if you want to. I'm just saying to me it's for easy writing you can say them they, but just make it clear that they have no concept of gender or sexual or sex. It's just completely not relevant to them.
See, that's why I'm thinking of Data because he doesn't really clarify himself as anything,
But he's a
but
robot, not a human being.
well, he's an android
So, but
with
Uh,
skin.
you guys
That's
are
what I
both
was
using
getting
he
at.
to describe data, by
yeah,
the way.
I
yeah,
know that's just the easiest way for me to explain it, but yeah,
but
Yeah.
you could
That's why I'm saying
call.
if we make it too complicated to follow the outline
yeah.
and write it,
I don't want to get
then
hung. I don't want to get hung
uh,
up on the language of the writing. I'm just saying that this is the character right now.
yeah.
They have
So we have Enderless, the new second in command is a support character.
the is a support character, and because they grew up in this community, they have a way of looking at things where never tell you the answer. Always lead someone to the answer. The second in command is very good at that. The new second in command is very good at leading you to find the answer, not telling you the answer. That's the main thing I want people to take from this character, because they have nothing's definite, but there's always a clear path. You know what I mean? It's like the path becomes more clearer when you stop looking at the different roads that you might want to take or society says you got to take. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Okay. Um, and the second support character is just a fuckwit. Now, the second support character is her mom, Mary's mom. Um, who is a hologram. She's a downloaded conscious. She can actually talk to her mom, but wherever she is, her mom goes with her. She's a downloaded conscious who she can have a conversation with whenever she needs to. And she's like an advisor type, but she's also a mom, so she's critical as well. And then the third support character is the politician, and he's a good politician, but like he's naive as hell. He wants to go to this new place to create a utopia, but he hasn't got the clout or the knowledge yet to be able to create this utopia because he's in trying to please everyone. He realizes he can please no one, and that's a lesson that she's got to learn for Command as well. It's a lesson they're both going to learn along the way. Anyone got anything to add to those support characters?
We
I
should
think we're
add in like a
missing-
little sibling.
Well, I wanted to keep it so she had no ties to the planet. But
I think we're missing one.
no, that was 3.
No, I'm talking about in terms of who would naturally just show up in this story. I'm second in command. First in command is taken out. There's going to be someone that ranks higher than that first in command, the captain of the ship.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the core characters
Then-
here, not the other characters. Just the core characters. So
Okay.
we can bring those people in later, but they don't have to be core characters.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think that if you go into being captain of the ship, the person advising you on how to do that you answer to as your next in command is going to be a fundamental person in the story.
Well, then let me throw this idea. The guy who wants to please everyone is the person she must now report to because he's the only politician willing to take the job. So he's in charge, but that's where the clash of heads it comes in, you know?
That works.
Does that work for you? I like that idea, actually. You know, it's, excuse the pun, but it's almost like the blind leading the blind.
I'm
And I
not
can-
making blind jokes with you, Monty. Sorry.
No, I can.
Yeah.
But yet it is like the blind leading the blind, you know? And the new second in command would say something like, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Which means whichever one of you figures this out first is going to be the one that we go with, you know? That's how the second in command talks. And the mother would just sort of like say, whatever. But anything else? Because we have half an hour to get through Act 2. Sorry, level 3.
Nothing I could think of.
We are back to Silas then, and we are looking at level 3. And do you want to mix up the order a little bit, or do you want to keep going round robin?
I'm indifferent.
Okay, I thought you was in Texas, mate. All right. So we're looking at level 3, and I am just going to bring up everything again on the screen here for people so they can see the levels one more time as a quick refresher. But level 3, we are looking at in no particular order, we are looking at a great catastrophe, a small disaster, something learned, something motivating, and the game is afoot. Which one of those do you want, Silas?
The high-ranking official who is the bad guy, someone report back to them, and then writing letters notifying next of kin.
Yeah.
We need to stimulate the reader's interest with some happening at this point.
Yep, definitely. That's
something
hence the
learned.
titles.
I apologize.
Something learned is where I would go with this.
Okay.
So we need something for them to learn, and ideally that's going to involve a support character. I like the genderless one because they never tell the answer, they always lead to the answer.
Yeah. I just want to bear in mind that,
The new-
just for clarification, those 3 characters are introduced in their own chapter. So whenever it's like a rule of mine that whenever you introduce a new character, the next chapter should be their chapter. That's, gives them their moment. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Okay, so they never tell the answer, they always lead to the answer.
Yes.
We're trying to stimulate interest in the reader. They need to gather information. They need to something learned. They need to find out who the guy is that sabotaged the ship. So they discover something that doesn't really tell them who it was, but begins to lead them on the trail of finding out who it was. So something learned might be finding a piece of evidence.
What's that piece of evidence? Or it could be a MacGuffin, really, couldn't it? It doesn't need to be anything.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's a piece of evidence. It's a
Whatever.
MacGuffin.
Yeah, a recording of a conversation or something, and they can't figure
Yeah.
out who it's from because they can't trace it.
Does anybody in this chat not know what a MacGuffin is before I continue?
I never heard of it, frankly.
Okay. Alfred Hitchcock gave us two things for writing a great story. One was the MacGuffin, and the MacGuffin is something that's important to your characters but not important to the viewer or the reader. Pee Wee Herman's bike is a MacGuffin. Right? It means nothing to us because we're more interested in him finding the bike. Right? So we're more interested in the character's relationship with that thing. That's a MacGuffin. And the other thing is, if you show the bomb under the table, you can build tension. But that's for another scene. But the bomb under the table is you've got to at some point you've got to let the reader in on the secret, so that the tension builds. But that's what a MacGuffin is. Sorry, Silas. Go and you were saying they find a piece of evidence.
Yeah, so they can't identify the speaker. Making some notes. So the genderless brings forward a decrypted transcript of the communication between the bad guy and their lackey, but the voice is masked, so they can't identify who the speaker is.
I like that.
The only part that's missing is that the genderless never tells the answer, but always leads to the answer.
Yeah, but they don't.
So
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
they need to suggest
That was a very
monitoring all communications to be able to pinpoint the source of the transmission to find the speakers.
perhaps we need to concentrate less on solving the problem, finding out where the problem originated.
Huh?
Like something that the new second in command would say would be sort of like I was ashing stuff out in my head and I didn't realise I was leaning away from the mic. I didn't realise you could pick it up. But they might say something like, perhaps we're concentrating too much on the finish line and not enough on the start line here.
Okay.
And then that would say, oh, where did the message come from, not where was it going? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is something learned. They've discovered a transcript of communications, and they can monitor all communications to pinpoint the transmission. And for those who pick up on this, the way that you can pinpoint the source of the transmission is people who mask their voices always mask them the exact same way every single time. And that leaves a digital footprint. Follow the digital footprint back to the speaker.
And you can disguise a voice, but not what they say.
Right.
You know.
How many times have you ever seen in a movie where the masked voice changes to like a feminine voice, a kid voice, an adult male voice, an old voice? No, they always use the same voice every single time.
Mm-hmm. And they always, like, you know, idiosyncrasies in speech are the biggest giveaway.
Yeah.
How
you speak is a fingerprint.
Yeah. We're going to go to JJ.
Yeah, I've been thinking the whole time. I'm not sure which one to do. I was actually coming up with ideas for something learned too. So, um, how about small disasters?
A small disaster. Okay. The purpose of a small disaster when we're discussing it in the evolution plan, it's something that goes wrong that isn't going to completely derail the plans, but it is an obstacle that gives us our first insight on how the main character might overcome an obstacle. An analogy I use when I'm talking about this on panels is they've lost their car keys or they can't find a clean shirt for work. It's a small disaster. It means nothing. Like, you know, it's not. Um, it's the broken eel before an interview that a woman fixes by running into a shop and stick some Bondo on there. You know, not Bondo. Stick some super glue on there just to get through the interview. She'll walk 20 miles home in a broken eel, but if she gets to the interview with her eel intact, she's happy. It's that kind of small disaster. Excuse me, it's something that's a setback in the immediate, but in the long term, not. Again, it's more character building.
About creating a new crew. That's kind of a disaster since most of them just got wiped out. And that takes a lot of work because you have to find people that are qualified for the specific positions and then the, filler spaces where, the general people who would do cleaning and other stuff like that.
We could take that as like the one person she really needs, she can't find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's a little disaster because she's having trouble getting her crew up to staffed.
And the only person she can find is someone from Earth.
Oh, there you go.
It's a short term solution.
That's a good one.
Because can I trust them? You know. Okay, I like that because it gives some, it gives us a, where do we recruit all these people from? We need a 5,000 person crew, you know.
Yeah, it was a little basic, but it sounds like it's something that should be part
It,
of everything.
it's
Because
supposed to be
otherwise, where'd
basic.
all the people come from?
Yeah, it's supposed to be basic because it's like the MacGuffin thing.
Hmm.
The problem isn't important. The solution is, and how they get there on their own through problem solving. Juniper.
I'm gonna go with something motivating. I think I'm gonna have the main character and their mother have a conversation about a way that she accomplished a task maybe in her past and discussing a memory of how they've gotten through something similarly. Kind of building more into the character's backstory and giving her a little bit more depth. Um, and it also kind of motivates her to move on, to push forward and get through whatever needs to be done because her mom has just kind of sat down and had a heart to heart with her.
I
Okay,
like that.
I like that because again we've done some more character building here, but we've had the small disasters because we started with the thing at the beginning. Right now, it's time to. All this is taking her out of her comfort level. We have to get to that point of no return now, and that point of no return is coming right now with The Game Is Afoot by me, Montgomery Harris. All right. Earth announces that their Alpha Centauri rocket has now passed its tests and has completed its first warp trials. It will be ready for launch in 6 months' time.
Damn.
All of those people who died on that ship will have died in vain if Earth gets there first. If it's a corporation and not a community that gets there first, that planet and all of the future exploration by humankind will become about resources and not about settlements. And that is The Game Is Afoot. Now we have to build the ship and beat them there. Which takes us to a great catastrophe. I think that was actually the great catastrophe more than the game is afoot, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
The two kind of tied in together because I know what I'm thinking right now, and I think Silas is going to go there as well. So just for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to leave it completely to Silas for the. I'm going to call that one the great catastrophe. I'm going to leave the game is afoot to Silas, and then I will tell you at the end where I was thinking of going with it because I don't want to influence it.
Okay,
Take it
'cause
away,
if you're
Silas.
using my mind, I am going to be impressed. The main character talks with the politician that she answers to, and they decide to steal part of the rocket from the Earth.
Okay, way off the mark. I would have saved that for Act 2 personally, for the fun, like for when you're exploring the universe. But I like it. The game is afoot. It shows what they're willing to do to win. Right.
And
I mean,
it
why
involves
not?
our third supporting character. So
Yeah.
far, we've involved the genderless, we've involved the mother, but we haven't re-involved that politician. So
Yeah.
it re-involves them. Plus, it'll need their connections in order to be able to help do that.
Yeah.
And they can make the decision. It doesn't have to be that they've actually gone and stolen it yet. They make the decision. So maybe if the politician says something to him, I'll give you all the funding and get you all of the people you need. You get me an engine.
Ooh.
So, Monty, my question for you is, did you read my mind?
I was going somewhere slightly different with it, and that was.
Okay.
But we got there in the end anyway, because by me adding that, like when you brought in the politician, I was going to say she needs to be told that at all costs, we beat. The game is afoot, is at all costs, we beat Earth, the Alpha Centauri. And you do whatever you need to do. So we were going sort of the same way.
I just took it to the next level.
You just went straight into it. You was as subtle as an house brick to the forehead, where I was
Yeah.
as gentle as a feather to that piece under your chin.
Hey, I am the guy that decided to blow everything up to begin with, right?
Yeah,
He started
This is
off with a
true.
bang, man.
yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, boys and girls, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. This has been part one of the science fiction story created by us here in the Writers' Room, formerly known as the Prompt and Plotted Podcast. Next week we will be on the air at 8 o'clock, as promised, because I'm going to get myself tested for being an idiot. But we will be on live at the right time here on the Prompt and Plotted Podcast channel. I'm trying to get the name changed to the Writers' Room Live. I would like to say thank you, Juniper, for being with us and giving us a feminine insight into this story. I appreciate you very much.
Appreciate being on here, honestly. It was fun.
Thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Yep.
JJ, I'd like to thank you for taking the brave step of coming on a podcast as a developing writer. So thank you, and thank you for all your input into the story. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for coming. Did he freeze?
No.
Okay. And Silas, thank you for your input as a science fiction writer. I think we are starting to see a story developing right now. With a great, well, that's what you're supposed to see at the end of the first act, a story developing, right? If you end a story at the end of the first act, there's no point in the second or third act. I would say remember everything that you've discussed this week. Maybe come back and watch this one again. If you are out there and you are watching this, please give us a share to your author friends. We would love to have more authors on the show. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you like what you've seen today. And don't forget to ring that bell and make sure you click the all so that you can know when we're going live in the future. I really appreciate everyone being here tonight. My name is Montgomery Harris, the Steampunk Wordsmith, and this has been the Writers' Room Live.